Guess who's back again. Get shady.
Nah, scratch that. This ain't shady. This is Hafeestonova, aka your musical plug, creator of the Energy Force. He's back like he never left with another season of the Cha-Cha Music Review podcast. Yeah, baby. So, Cha-Cha Nation, tell somebody to tell anybody to tell everybody that the Cha-Cha Music Review podcast is back, and we'll be amplifying the African sounds by bringing the best of African music to your ears.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, and my amazing members of the Cha-Cha Nation, your musical blog and the creator of the Energy Force, Hafeestonova, is back like he never left with another episode of the Cha-Cha album review series on the Cha-Cha Music Review podcast. I am not going to be alone today. I have two of my friends in the compound with me. Yes, they've been here before, but still, let me allow them to introduce themselves.
Yo, this is Buiga Adeoya. I'm one half of the Sample Access podcast. We've been here before. We're big fans of the Cha-Cha Music Review podcast by Hafeestonova. And of course, glad to be here again to do another album review.
Nelson.
Yeah, all right. Thank you very much for having me. I'm so excited. I feel good. I feel fresh. Every time, we're on Cha-Cha, it's always, a very good time. I can't wait to get into it straight up.
Today, we'll be talking about the album from Rema. The album is titled Rave and Roses. But before we go into what the album entails and what the album does not entail and what the album is lacking or not, let me quickly give a quick info about the album. So like I said, the name of the album is titled Rave and Roses, and the album was dropped on the 25th of March. The album features the likes of Chris Brown, Black, AJ Tracey, and French singer Yseult. I hope I got that pronunciation right. Then the production credit also goes to the likes of Andre Vibez, Sarz, London, Dez Wright, Killer September, One Mind, Kel P KDagre8t, Higo, and Altims. Now, those are the people that worked on the album. Now, let me start with Nelson. Nelson, when you listened to the album for the first time, what was your first impression?
Well, if I'm being sincere, the first time I heard the album, I was very impressed because I didn't think a lot about the lyrics, or I didn't even think about. I was first of all, I've been anticipating that album for a while. So when you say, okay, yeah, it's finally here, so I already had high hopes even before playing a record. But when I heard the first record, that is Divine, I was blown away because I just loved how sonically great it was, and then the lyrics just caught me, and I'm like, after the first song, you know that moment of when you listen to the first song of an album, and you're like, this is going to be very good. That energy of this is going to be a very good album, and to an extent, because I've listened to it about 3 to 4 times now. Like, I'm talking about the album from start to finish. To an extent, it almost lived up to the hype. But I'll talk more about that some other time, because I'm just giving you my first time. It was a great one, and the ride all the way from the very first song to the last was quite fresh and cool.
Well, I can't really remember exactly when was my first listen, but I would not say it was 100% expected. Again, albums are supposed to grow on you most of the time, but at first listen, I was getting a lot of reggae, raga, afro raga vibes, and it just wasn't cutting it. But of course, over time, I got to get familiar with the songs. I got to learn more about the songs, like the songs a little more. I got the concept around the album, so I started to make amends and adjust how I perceive the album. But the first impression gave this raga reggae sensation. Are You There? Love. All of those songs sounded like, I don't know, but first impression wasn't the best. But it has grown on me. Out of about 18 or 17 songs, I can say I have 9 to 10 songs that are cool, that I can say these are very cool songs. So yeah, first impression wasn't the best, but it has grown on me.
On my own first listening to that first track, Divine, I felt like, okay. I mean, for you to kick off your album like this, you have to have something much more juicy and much more, exciting. But in all honesty, I think I got a bit tired after Sangasm, which is the 5th track on the album. The next song that played was Time and Affection featuring Chris Brown, then Joe, then Mara. And towards in between somewhere there, I felt like, okay, you know what? I think I'm done with this album for today. I'll try another day. And that was the first time I actually listened to it. I wasn't able to go all through the end for the first time. But listening to it for the second time, the third time, the fourth time, like Gwega said, album is something that is supposed to grow on you. It takes a very, very magical artist or a very, very, out of this world artist, whereby you listen to the album for the first time and everything just, grow on you instantly. It's not as if the album is not good, but again, like Gwega said, these are things that will actually grow on you. So let me start with you, Gwega, talking about the album, growing on you, and you got catching a lot of, Afro reggae kind of vibe. Now that you've listened to the album multiple times, what is going to be your take on the album? Now we are talking about in terms of the quality of the songs and the production of the song.
So now that I have listened multiple times, I can now see the direction, the art direction, the mind of the producers and the the executive producers, what the artist really wants to do, and I see that it has a cinematic effect. It's storytelling in a way. Divine is the birth of Rema, the artist, from where his mom went through all that trouble in Benin, bringing him to life, and jump all the way down to the last track on the album, that is Runaway, which is a love story where he is now a mature guy and wants to has a life of his own. So all through the album there is a lot of partying, there is a lot of sex, there is time and affection, are you there, what a young boy of 16 to 25 or 16 to age 29 will be going through, a lot of fantasy, women and money, young fresh nigga, that's a fly track. So all that is a journey of a young man. You don't expect him to be introspective and tell you about Nigeria's history or military wars and all that. He is explaining his story, which is cool. So more and more as I listen to the album, I get familiar, and I like the art direction especially. Look, everybody has been talking about that switch from track 1 to track 2, which is very cinematic. Producer London, there's a way they take it to a futuristic level. Not futuristic, I can't find the word. It's cinematic. The end of the song Divine, the last few seconds, takes you into a musical trance as it switches into track 2, which has an effect. I'm looking forward to the video because they are supposed to do something with that session. That cinematic musical session, done at the end of Divine must be properly represented visually, because there is a story there. There is a whole story tied to all the tracks, which is why I started to appreciate the work done on the album. The producers did a lot of work. London, my best song, I hope we get to that, is Addicted. There is a certain energy that comes with every song, and the features are carefully selected as well. Chris Brown, Yseult, and AJ Tracey, and I think there's one Black killed Hold Me. Black killed that second track. His verse the song went from Afro Raga to R&B very, very quickly. Black did a dope verse on that. So beyond my first impression of this is not exactly what I think, after listening to the album like 4 times, you would then start to, okay, I get the story now, and I can respect this album more for what it was supposed to represent.
All right, Nelson, let's talk about the production of the album. Like Gwega rightly mentioned, I mean, it's going to take someone that is probably musically deaf or that does not understand anything about music, that will not catch that transition from the first track to the second track. I mean, at first when I listened to it, I felt like maybe it's the same song that was still continuing. And so I was like, oh no, this now has jumped to the next track. And that alone literally blew my mind in terms of how much of, should I say, creativity that was put into the production, of those 2 particular tracks. And Gwega rightly, mentioned again that Black, I'm not even going to lie, he killed the next track totally, which is Hold On or Hold Me. Yeah, that's the second track, and he killed it totally. So Nelson, now in terms of production, what would you say about the album?
All right, quickly talking about production. The production was stellar in terms of like how the cohesiveness of the songs being like the energy transferred from one track to the other. Now, there was a time where Gwega and I listened to this album together. We're just chilling one of those times, and we listened to the album from start to finish. And yeah, obviously, we spoke about that transition. But I think the most important part is, London did some of the songs alone, and then he did a couple with other people like Big September, Andre Vibez. You understand? But you see those
Yeah.
first two songs, that transition was obvious. I can tell that it was, London's work on that particular flow from track 1 to 2. In fact, I'll tell you this. I remember me and Gwega had a laugh about this. If you remember very well, the second track leading to the third song, that is Dirty, I almost thought I was going to catch the same transition. Do you understand? Because I was so attentive because I'm so into production of sounds, like how an album sounds, like the sonical idea of it. You understand? So the moment I got that first vibe, I really thought I was really hoping that maybe this is going to go all the way. Do you understand? And then obviously that didn't happen because Dirty was an entirely different song from Hold Me in terms of vibe, in terms of underlaying instruments and all of that. But still, the effect of London was still very evident in that. Now, I'm going to quickly talk about a couple of, people that I felt like, yeah, they did their own beat, you understand, but like it wasn't like the greatest of greatest works. I think if Rema had stuck to London all the way for all the songs, the album might have had a completely different approach sonically. The introduction of new guys like Kel P. Now, all of these guys, they killed it. You understand? Kel P, One Mind, Eddie Priest, you understand? And, Higo, and a couple of other guys. Those are the guys I can think about right there. They killed it. But like Boyega said, one of the standout songs of that album that a lot of people have not, I don't know why a lot of people have not, touched it or decided to like listen more, is Addicted. Addicted has, I really wish I think I have a little bit of time, so I'm going to try and explain. Addicted is dragged out from post-disco jivey sounds. Do you understand?
Definitely.
So basically, it was inspired by obviously by the 80s vibe, the 80s energy, and you can tell that is so proper. It sounds like a modern 80s song. Do you understand? If you listen to Blood Orange does a lot of sounds like that. He's a producer as well, a European producer. He does a lot of sounds like that. I was also talking about a couple of 808s that we heard. I'm sure you heard a lot of 808s in that album as well.
Mm-hmm.
And those 808s remind you of the Kanye vibes. So basically, what I'm trying to say is this album was done with a lot of research. I could tell. Because these producers, every single one of them, I know London led that project, but every single one of them, they had homework and they did the homework well. If you strip off some of these songs and just play the beats alone, you will be amazed at how beautiful the album is. One of the things that kept me going all the way, like you said, I remember, Hafeestonova, you were saying something about the fact that when you got to track 5, it was almost like, oh, okay, I think I might be getting tired now. Do you understand? Because at some point it was beginning to sound monotonous. Do you understand?
Definitely.
But if you're a beat guy, you're like maybe a beat person or you're a sound person, you want to go all the way because you want to know what the next vibe is going to be like. I mean, look at Soundgasm. Soundgasm is so beautiful. Like you could tell that there are a lot of elements in the beat, but at the same time, it's like making a beat whisper. I don't know if that makes any sense.
That was what I was going to go to. I was going to mention that.
Yeah, because Soundgasm had so like if you listen to Soundgasm alone and you kind of like take off the vocals of Rema in your head, you're going to hear a lot of instruments, like a lot of touch here and there. It's so much work done, but then it's like they are not loud. So it's like the beat is just, it's like that thing that Rema did that was whispering when he was speaking a lot of dirty words.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sure I don't know what was happening in that room, but I wouldn't be surprised if I get to discover that it was because the beat itself was sounding like it was whispering. So he just decided to do that on top of it. This is just me saying that I wasn't in the room when that happened. But then I'm just saying, like, it feels like that would have been a great inspiration. Like, this beat they whisper. Maybe say if I do something, you say go. Do you understand? It will merge with the beat.
Definitely.
But then, all in all, and if you ask me, I know we're not started scoring yet, but in terms of sonics, in terms of how great the album was production wise, I would give it 7.5, strong 7.5, not just small though, a very strong one over 10. And the only reason why is because I felt, and I still feel the same way, I felt London should have taken over the entire album.
Okay. You felt London should have taken it over the entire album. And I'm not even going to lie here. I feel like London would have actually done much better. I mean, given the fact that London is one producer that I say he understands a lot about, quote unquote now, the Afrobeat movement of Nigerian artists, and he does it perfectly. Bega, what do you think about, the genre of music or the genre of the sound of the album itself?
The sound of the album for me, I hope I'm going to say it right. It's sounding. I'm hearing a lot of raga. Are you there? Are you there? Those are sounds of dirty wine, Jamaican vibes. So I get a lot of raga. I don't know if raga is the best way to term it. Soundgasm, for instance, is an Afrobeat jam. Yeah, Time and Affection is a generic Afro pop jam. Joe is Afro pop. Love is Afro pop. A song like Fresh Young Nigga featuring AJ Tracey is Afro swing. Oroma Baby is Afrobeat. So at the end of the day, it comes out as Afrobeat because Afrobeat is a blend of even the raga I'm talking about and the Afro swing and elements coming together. So at the end of the day, we can still call it an Afrobeat album because it's a big umbrella that embodies the pop and the raga and the slow. Look at Dirty. Dirty is a slow, high life feel, low key vibe, but it's still Afrobeat. So, but the element is raga. The only standout different sound or different genre track is Addicted, which is 80s synth pop or 80s pop, whatever. But at the end of the day, again, you can see on Mara that there's some Bantu, some Ghanaian vibe to it. On Dirty, there is some level of, high life, slow Afrobeat jam. On Hold Me, there's still that Afrobeat raga. So at the end of the day, you can call it an Afrobeat album, but still it's different. Since Made in Lagos, I was always looking forward to what are the other Afrobeat jam or Afrobeat album that will be dropping? What would the sound be like? How much of R&B will be embedded? So this is not like Made in Lagos, even though that's my standard to judge now. This has a different energy. But for this album, I think you can still call it an Afrobeat album, but with a lot of variety, especially the raga subgenre of Afrobeats, if there's something like that.
I was doing a research somewhere, and I saw somebody saying, "Oh, Rema has created his own, genre of music, calling it Afro rave," and I'm like, well, maybe, maybe that was something that people that listened to the album and they were able to pick up, a lot of elements, except from the original and natural, Afrobeat, elements. This is what I want us to talk about now. For me, like I rightly said, the first 5 songs of the album were like my top songs on the album, and obviously Addicted. I mean, you can't go wrong with Addicted. You can't go wrong with Are You There also. And this other song, what's the name? Fresh Young Nigga. You can't also go wrong with that song. But in between, I don't know how I feel about Time and Addiction. I don't know. A part of me was saying, okay, a Chris Brown. Yes, Chris Brown came through, but at the same time, could someone have done better than Chris Brown? I don't know. For Joe, Mara, and Love, I feel like every time those songs comes up, I just skip them for whatever reason. I don't know. So that might probably be my own, should I say, weak song or songs that I didn't feel, on the album. So Nelson, which songs on the album would you say didn't really, cut it for you? Let's leave the ones that are dope, and let's talk about the one that you felt, okay, maybe these songs were below par compared to every other songs on the album.
I think all of us are going to like, this is going to be a great one. You know why? Because I think 3 of us, I think Boyga and I already spoke about the songs that we feel like we're not hitting it. And I feel like we might all just have the same thing. You see that Joe Mara love? I kind of feel
Yeah.
like it's there for a purpose. Do you understand? They all followed each other for a reason. To me, let me explain how I felt like this album went. You see those first 5 songs? Do you understand? Talking about Divine, Hold Me, Time and Affection, all those first one, Calm Down, all of that. If you check the way that plays that Joe Mara, it was like a transition from, oh yeah, these were the very bad guys, and oh yeah, these were the songs that we put in to complete the album, and yeah, these ones are also very good. Do you get what I'm saying? It's like they
Definitely.
try to strike a balance, because I mean, the direction that the song was going to, after we heard Soundgasm, Time and Affection, I'm not the greatest A&R, or I'm not so much, in tune into the A&R, part of the industry. But I don't think I would have put a song like Joe Mara there, except I know that they are just there as album fillers. Do you understand?
Mm-hmm.
It makes no, I mean, this album is such like, it follows a story. You understand? And I'm sure I've not even gotten it completely yet, which is one of the reasons why we don't really like these songs. Do you get? I think from Divine down to the last song on the album, which is Runaway, it seems like it's it's a line, like you are going from point A to point B. Do you understand? Divine is like
Mm-hmm.
starting appreciation, and then Runaway is like, oh yeah, I'm liberated, I'm the guy. Do you understand? Like we had the I'm the guy moment. Yeah, I'm Rema, and this is me now. Like this is me metamorphosing
Definitely.
from the old guy you guys know, from the Dume Bees, Commando to Rewind. Now I have to just put this out there. Rewind is my best song from Rema. Like any day, anytime, Rewind, that's my song. Rewind is amazing, but we're not talking about that. I just wanted to say that because I remembered, and then we just go from point A to point B. So I feel like those songs were album fillers to the best of my knowledge. But I'm sure if we listen, over and over again, like Boyega said, and you also said, these albums get to like grow on you. So maybe if we listen more, pay more attention to these songs, we might be able to see the connection between those songs and the next line. Let me explain quickly. So we had Divine, Hold Me, Dirty, Calm Down, Soundgasm, and Time and Affection. Now all of these songs had something in common. Rema was really going hard in terms of lyrics. Do you understand? Like
Mm-hmm.
his lyrics were specific. He was straight to the point. They were, we knew what he was talking about from the very first few lines. Do you understand? From the very first few lines, we got what he was talking about. Then we had Joe, Mara, and Love. Now, apart from Love, which had its own vibe, Joe and Mara felt like standout songs. Do you understand? They were not like when you hear them the first time, you feel like, oh, maybe this song should have not been on the album. Maybe they should be appearing somewhere else. Maybe they should have been dropped, maybe probably as singles or somewhere else. Then we get into Addicted. Addicted picks up, the vibe Addicted picks up from Love is a very different vibe. It's like
Very different.
he's trying to wake you up that okay, it's about to go down again. Do you understand? Like, oh yeah, it's about to go down again, and then we get to Are You There? I don't know what anybody says, but Are You There is a jam. You understand? That's a killer jam. I'm very sure it's a song that if they play it in clubs, people would go crazy. The lines, the use of words, the idea of the song is crazy. And then from there you enter Fresh Young Nigga, which is like probably the coolest song after Dirty to me on the album. Don't leave the Calm Down and Soundgasm. Those songs have dropped as singles. So, when I listen to an album, the singles, I used to like to pack them one side first. Because I feel like,
Definitely.
yeah, I've already exhausted the energy out of this one. So let me look at these other songs. So like Fresh Young Nigga, beautiful song. Oroma Baby, yeah, I got the idea. I felt like that was the song he was making for Nigerians. Do you understand what I'm saying? Like it felt like it was a song for, oh, okay, every other song in this album can be internationally acclaimed, but this one for my Nigeria people, let's take Oroma. I feel like it's almost the same thing that Burna Boy did with Twice as Tall. The Bebos, you understand? The Comma, the Waiting the Sub. You get what I'm saying? Those songs are good, but they were just like drop it out there. They were not on the same level as, I mean, it was not the same level as the other songs of the album, but just to give props to the fact that, okay, this is a Nigerian album, let's enjoy it. Then Carry and Wine. I love the Yseult voice. Come on. Yo, I was asking everybody, who is this? That voice is amazing. But then let me just, love it and drop it at that. Joe Mara maybe should have just been dropped, but as album fillers, not bad. I'm curious that maybe in the future it will mean something much more, and they might even be the best songs at the end of the day.
Can I just say something quickly? Yeah, Nelson mentioned that Oroma Baby might just be the exclusively Nigerian song, but I really feel, even though Afrobeats to the world is a thing now, and it sounds like we are making music for the global space, I still feel that we are, as much as the songs are international, they are received abroad, they are still very Nigerian too. So Oroma Baby can count as a culturally, is like what flavored with Edegede and Larry Gaga. Now
Yeah.
those are cultural Igbo tracks. So even within the Afrobeat genre, we have subcultural tracks. You have the very Yoruba, very Igbo, very local. So Oroma Baby can count as that side. But most of the songs still fall into the Nigerian, Joe Mara. Dirty is pretty Nigerian, but it can sell outside, but it's still Nigerian. So Oroma Baby is just different with that cultural effect.
Okay. Wait, I'm going to stick with you. Looking at everything, the production, the sound, the cohesion of the album itself, does it, tell a story? Does it paint a picture, or is just selection of each songs and, just pack everything together and make project just complete? What is going to be your general rating of the album?
The rating of the album is that this is not exactly my thing, but for the Afrobeat market, this might be a hit. We'll have to wait for a few more months, maybe for a year, to see how it works out. But I can bet you that Rema going on tour, putting these songs together, because performing the songs bring more life to the album, depending on how the tours go, how the performances go. So when the songs get to stage and you connect with the fans, it adds value to the album. So for the Afrobeat market, this is not a bad debut. This is a very solid debut album, even though 3 EPs were out before this. But this is a solid debut album. Rating, I don't want to put a number to it, but because it might be clogged by my own preference of music. But for the Afrobeat market, this is a good 7/10, if I'm right.
Nelson, I'm going to allow you to wrap up with two questions also. Now, do you feel like for a debut album, and like Bega rightly mentioned, like 2 or 3 EPs has even dropped before this album, do you feel the tracks were too much? Could it have been shorter? And obviously, what would be your general rating of the album?
I remain on that same path of saying I think it should have been shorter. I think the album fillers were not needed. I'm saying that because of the first 3 listens. Like I said, maybe by listening moving forward, and I think there are about 16 tracks, if I'm not mistaken. So maybe if I listen further, you understand, I might be able to come to maybe a fruition that maybe these songs were meant to be there, or they are there. But at the moment, those songs are album fillers, and I didn't think they were needed for a Rema. So yeah, I think it's too much. Now going to the other part of the question, that is the rating of the album. I think it might be too early to rate the album, you understand. But for first 3 listens, I'm going to stick with a 7.2. And the only reason why I'm sticking with a 7 is because of that influx of the album fillers. The 3 songs that I felt like were not needed. You understand? So that the length of an album is very important, especially nowadays. If you're going to have a long album, it has to be great all the way. So 7/10 for me.
I mean, without a doubt, there is no even need of asking, oh, is this an album people should listen to? Is this an album people not should listen to? I mean, when you already have a 7/10 and a 7/10, it says that at least it's an album for a debut album, you would say it is a decent album. You cannot open your mouth and say, oh, the album is bad or the album is trash. So, and yes, personally for me also, my rating of the album, and this is where it gets, very funny for me too, because after listening to the album, I think I've listened to the album now about 10 times, if I'm not mistaken. I had two major problems. Number one was the length. Like you rightly said, 16 songs. And I feel like those three, like we rightly mentioned, could have easily been taken away. Just take away those three and let the album just stay like that. And let's just have what we have. And that was one thing apart from the length, then also those three songs that I mentioned, I feel like, why did you put this song on the album in the first place? Why did you, kill the vibe that you were giving us from the beginning and just have to put this one there, make it look like to say the album too perfect, or what were you guys trying to do? If I decide to listen to the album maybe tomorrow, I might not listen beyond 6 selected or 7 selected track and say, okay, yeah, I'm good with this. Yeah, I'm good with this. This one, maybe depending on my mood, but no matter the mood, I know there are at least 6 songs on the album that I'll definitely get to listen to, no matter the mood I'm in. So yeah, my own rating for the album is also going to be a 7/10. So, Vega and Nelson, I want to say thank you very much for being, on the episode today. I really, really appreciate the both of you, and I like the fact that whenever we want to do this, you guys are always turning up. I really, really do, appreciate. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, and members of the Chacha Nation, this is where I will be drawing the curtain on today's episode of the Chacha album review series. But before I go, let me allow Vega and Nelson just say, the final word. Nelson, be the guy to say the final word.
All right. Yeah, it's been a great one, being right here with Chacha, talking about the album, Rave and Roses, from the big guy, Rema. And on behalf of the Sample Access podcast crew, that is Vega and I, thank you very much for having us. And of course, we hope that we get to do this again very soon. Yeah, peace and blessings.
All right, peace and blessings. Remember, like I used to say, no matter what you do, keep the energy, keep it 100, and keep it positive. Till I come away with another episode, my name will always remain Hafeestonova, aka your musical plug, creator of the Energy Force. Peace out.
Yeah. Cha-cha time for the cha-cha gang. Give me the cha-cha gang. Rockin' with the best, cha-cha gang. Give me the cha-cha gang. Alayela with cha-cha gang. Give me the cha-cha gang. What's in my body, cha-cha gang. Give me the cha-cha gang. Cha-cha gang. What's in my body?